Imagine the weight of that moment. The crystal flute cool in your palm, bubbles rising like tiny warnings, while the man who raised you watches with eyes that say everything without a word. I never expected my Harvard graduation to end in sirens and handcuffs, but that's exactly how it unraveled for me. Emily Hayes. On what should have been my crowning achievement. The grand ballroom at the Boston Harbor Hotel shimmered under a sea of chandeliers, filled with the city's power players, senators, CEOs, and philanthropists who'd come to celebrate the latest crop of Ivy League elites. I stood there in my black gown. The summa cum laude cord a heavy reminder of the battles I'd fought to get here. When I caught it, my father's hand, steady as a surgeon's, dropping something powdery into my drink from across the room. In that frozen second, years of silent rejections and calculated cruelties clicked into place. They weren't just disappointed in me, they wanted me gone. The air thickened with the scent of expensive perfumes and aged whiskey. But all I could focus on was William Hayes, my father, the iron-fisted founder of Hayes Pharmaceuticals, weaving through the crowd like he owned every soul in it. He'd built his fortune on cutting-edge drugs that promised miracles. But whispers in the industry spoke of corners cut, lives ruined in the name of profit. Tonight, he wore his bespoke suit like armor, shaking hands with calculated warmth. But I knew the chill beneath. I'd always been the outlier in our family, the one who questioned the empire instead of bowing to it. While my older sister, Sophia, thrived as his right hand, groomed for the boardroom with her Wharton MBA and razor-sharp ambition. I'd chosen public health policy, focusing on the fallout from companies like his, contaminated water supplies, communities ravaged by industrial waste. "You're throwing away your potential," he'd sneered at family dinners, his voice low and laced with that paternal disappointment that cut deeper than any blade. But now, watching him palm a vial from his pocket and tip its contents into one specific flute, the one he'd later hand to me, I understood. This wasn't disappointment. This was elimination. My heart hammered against my ribs as I forced a smile, nodding at congratulations from my old professors. But my eyes never left him. The mirrored pillars in the ballroom betrayed his every move, a cruel twist of fate that let me see what no one else could. He stirred the champagne subtly, the fizz masking the dissolve, then marked the glass with a slight turn of its base, his tell, the same precision he'd use in board meetings to signal deals gone bad. Mother, Eleanor Hayes, glided over then, her diamond necklace catching the light like ice shards. She was old New England money, married into Dad's ambition to build a dynasty. Always the picture of poise. But her concern for me had always been a weapon, subtle digs about my idealistic phase, or how I carried stress so poorly. "Emily, dear," she cooed, linking her arm in mine, steering me toward the family cluster by the stage. "Your father has our special toast ready. Let's not keep everyone waiting." Her grip tightened just enough to remind me who held the reins. And in that touch, I felt the betrayal seep in like venom, years of her turning a blind eye to his rages, her own quiet manipulations to keep me in line. Sophia was already there, radiant in her tailored silk dress, charming a cluster of venture capitalists with that effortless Hayes charisma. She was everything they wanted, compliant, driven, willing to overlook the gray areas for the glow of success. We'd never been close, her triumphs always amplified mine as failures, but tonight, her indifference stung fresh. Dad handed out the flutes with a flourish, saving mine for last. "To Emily," he boomed, his voice projecting for the room, "who's finally stepping into her future." The words dripped with irony, his eyes locking on mine as if daring me to drink. The glass felt like death in my hand, cool and condemning. Around us, glasses clinked, but I held back, my mind racing through the fragments of our fractured family. Why now? Why here? In this public spectacle, the answer coiled in my gut. I'd become a threat they couldn't ignore. To grasp the depth of their hatred, you have to peel back the layers of our polished facade, the one that graced society pages and charity galas. Dad had clawed his way from a modest startup to a pharma giant through ruthless mergers and off-the-books deals, earning him the nickname The Alchemist in business circles, turning problems into gold. Or so they said. But at home, he ruled with an invisible fist, praise for Sophia's cutthroat negotiations, silence for my advocacy work. Mom complimented him perfectly, her blue blood pedigree masking a talent for emotional sabotage. "Darling, compassion is for the weak," she'd whisper during my teenage rebellions, when I'd argue against their latest factory expansion that poisoned local rivers. Sophia lapped it up, trading her soul for their approval, while I withered under the constant comparisons. My choice of major, public health over business, had been the first crack. "You're attacking your own blood," Dad had growled when my thesis exposed patterns of corporate pollution, patterns that mirrored Hayes Pharma's operations. But it ran deeper. I was the echo of Grandma Lydia, Mom's mother, a pioneering epidemiologist who'd fought Big Pharma in the 70s, dying suddenly of a heart attack that always felt too convenient. The real fracture hit 6 months back. I'd uncovered data, emails, permits, test results showing Hayes Pharma had been dumping toxic byproducts in underserved Midwest towns for years. Birth defects spiked. Wells turned undrinkable. But payoffs to officials kept it buried. I confronted Dad in his study, naive enough to think blood meant something. "Fix this," I'd pleaded. His laugh was cold. "You think the world runs on ideals? I'll bury you before I let you bury us." He pulled strings to kill my internships, whisper campaigns that painted me as unstable. But the killing blow? A lawyer's call 3 months ago about Grandma Lydia's trust. She'd left me $12 million, accessible on graduation or my 25th birthday, bypassing my parents entirely. "She saw their poison," the attorney said, handing me her letter. "Emily, don't let them dim your fire. Use this to fight, to heal what they've broken. Compassion isn't frailty, it's armor." If I died before claiming it, the funds went to anti-pollution nonprofits. They'd discovered it weeks later. And suddenly, their concern turned predatory, forced family trips, suggestions of rest at secluded retreats, even hints at commitment for stress. They weren't protecting the family, they were erasing a liability. Standing there, flute in hand, the bubbles mocking me, I felt the rage build slow. A storm gathering. They'd chosen my triumph to end me. A final twist of the knife. But Grandma's words echoed, "Armor." I wouldn't run. "To us," I said, voice steady, linking arms with Sophia in a mock sisterly gesture, old wedding tradition, intimate enough for photos. In the unlink, my hand, trained from lab precision, swapped our glasses seamlessly, a blur hidden in laughter. "Whoops. Mixed up," I chuckled, the sound foreign in my throat. Sophia, ever the performer, swigged deep from what was now hers, the tainted one. Dad's face tightened. Mom's smile cracked. But with cameras flashing and guests toasting, they were trapped in their own theater. The switch was done, the die cast. As Sophia drained half her glass, I sipped mine. Safe and seething, the first spark of vengeance igniting. The next 20 minutes dragged like an eternity, tension coiling tighter with every tick of the antique clock on the wall. I circulated the room, accepting hugs and handshakes, but my eyes tracked Sophia, her laugh growing forced. A hand to her temple. Dad hovered nearby, his charm fracturing into furtive glances. Mom whispered urgently to him. But they couldn't act, not without exposing themselves. At the 22-minute mark, Sophia's glass slipped, shattering like our family's illusions. I feel off, she slurred, swaying as knees buckled. Chaos erupted, gasps, shouts for help. I rushed in. Phone out, 911. It's poisoning, check the champagne. Dad knelt beside her, panic cracking his mask. What did you ingest? But foam flecked her lips. Convulsions starting, more violent than I'd anticipated. The paramedics burst in. Assessing, sudden cardiac event. Possible toxin. I leaned in loud, test for HX92. Hayes Pharma's experimental heart drug, discontinued for fatalities. Dad's glare was lethal. But the seed was planted. The ballroom morphed into a nightmare, police tape. Forensic swarming. The elite herded for statements. My friend Riley, a budding filmmaker I'd asked to record for memories, captured it all. Dad's vial drop. The handover. His slip, it wasn't for her. Mom crumbled at the hospital call confirming HX92 in Sophia's system. How? She whispered. But I met her eyes, you know. Arrests followed, attempted murder. Conspiracy. The empire unraveled, raids uncovered falsified trials. Buried deaths. Polluted sites. Sophia survived, waking to betrayal's full weight. In therapy, she confessed, they made me their weapon against you. She turned state's evidence, exposing bribes and frauds she'd enabled for love that was never real. The trial was a spectacle. Boston's courthouse besieged by media. I testified for hours, laying bare the emotional scars, the isolation, the gaslighting fueled by their fear of my truth. Dad's defense crumbled under videos, tox reports, Grandma's trust. Guilty, life for him. 20 years for Mom. Hayes Pharma dissolved. Assets to victims. Standing in a reclaimed Illinois field, once a dump site. Now a park named for Lydia, I felt the cost, a family shattered. But justice born from pain. Sophia and I rebuilt. Tentative sisters in the ruins. Vengeance didn't heal everything, but it freed us. Sometimes, switching the glass means surviving the poison you were born into.